If the scale hasn't moved in days or even weeks, I need you to stop what you're doing and listen carefully. Because most people make the same mistake at this exact moment. And that mistake is the reason they stay stuck for months or years. When weight loss stalls, the instinct is always the same. People cut more food. They skip meals. They reduce carbs. They add cardio. They push harder. And the scale still doesn't move. Or worse, it moves up and down randomly, creating frustration and self-doubt. In this video, I'm going to show you the first thing you must fix before changing calories, workouts, supplements, or anything else. And stay until the end, because the final explanation is what separates people who restart fat loss from people who stay stuck forever. Let's start with a hard truth. If the scale won't move, it's usually not because you're eating too much. It's because your body is no longer responding to restriction the way it did before. And the reason for that is not willpower. It's adaptation. Your body is not broken. It's reacting. Most people think weight loss stops because they're doing something wrong in the present. But in reality, weight loss usually stops because of what you've been doing consistently in the past. Weeks or months of dieting. Weeks or months of pushing. Weeks or months of stress. And the body eventually says, enough. Here's what most people don't understand. Weight loss is not controlled only by how much you eat today. It's controlled by how safe your body feels overall. When the body feels safe, it releases fat. When it doesn't, it protects it. So when the scale won't move, the first thing you must fix is not your calories. It's recovery and energy balance stability. Let me explain that clearly. Most people live in a constant low-grade deficit. Not extreme, but never enough to recover. They eat slightly less every day. They never truly maintain. They never truly rest. They never signal safety to the body. From the outside, it looks disciplined. From the inside, it feels like stress. And stress is the enemy of fat loss. When stress stays high, cortisol stays elevated. When cortisol stays elevated, the body holds water, resists fat loss, and increases hunger. The scale becomes unpredictable. Some days it goes down. Some days it goes up. And mentally, people start panicking. This is where bad decisions are made. Instead of fixing the real issue, people react emotionally. They cut more food. They train harder. They remove another food group. And that pushes the body further into resistance. This is why the scale doesn't move. Now here's the key point that almost nobody tells you. If fat loss stopped, the solution is rarely to eat less. Most of the time, the solution is to stop digging the hole deeper. That's why the first thing to fix is maintenance. And I know that word scares people. Maintenance sounds like quitting. Maintenance sounds like giving up. Maintenance sounds like I'll gain weight. But maintenance is not failure. Maintenance is a reset. Maintenance means eating enough calories to keep your weight stable for a period of time. Not gaining, not losing, just stabilizing. Why does this matter? Because during maintenance, several critical things happen. Hormones begin to normalize. Stress levels drop. Sleep improves. Training performance improves. Hunger becomes more manageable. Metabolism can slowly come back up. In other words, your body starts trusting you again. And fat loss only happens when trust exists. This is where most people make the biggest mistake of their entire journey. They are afraid to stop dieting. They think if they stop pushing, they'll lose control. But what they don't realize is that not stopping is exactly what's keeping them stuck. Think about this. If a car overheats, do you press the gas harder? No. You stop. You let it cool. Then you continue. The body works the same way. Now let's address a fear directly, because I know it's in your head. What if I gain weight during maintenance? Here's the truth. If you suddenly eat far above your needs, yes, you can gain weight. But proper maintenance is not overeating. It's controlled. It's intentional. And most people don't gain fat during maintenance. What they see instead is short-term water changes that stabilize after a few days. The fear of maintenance is usually based on misunderstanding, not reality. Now let's talk about why the scale specifically stops moving. The scale measures total body weight. It does not measure fat loss. It does not measure water retention. It does not measure stress. It does not measure inflammation. So when stress is high, sleep is poor, and recovery is low, the scale can stay stuck even when fat loss is happening slowly underneath. Or it can go up due to water while fat is being lost. This is why obsessing over daily scale numbers destroys progress. But here's the problem. When people see the scale stuck, they assume fat loss has stopped completely. And that assumption leads to panic behavior. The first fix is to stop reacting to the scale emotionally. The second fix is to give the body what it needs to respond again. That means enough food, enough protein, enough sleep, enough recovery. Let's talk about protein for a moment, because it's critical. When protein intake is too low, the body struggles to preserve muscle during dieting. Muscle loss lowers metabolism. Lower metabolism means fewer calories burned. Fewer calories burned means fat loss slows or stops. So if the scale won't move and protein is low, you're fighting yourself. But even perfect protein intake cannot overcome chronic stress and chronic restriction. That's why maintenance phases exist. Maintenance is not a break from discipline. It's a different form of discipline. It requires structure. It requires tracking. It requires patience. And patience is the part most people lack. They want the scale to move every week. But biology doesn't work on deadlines. It works on signals. Now here's an important clarification. Fixing maintenance does not mean staying there forever. It means staying there long enough. For some people, that's 2 weeks. For others, it's 4. For people who have dieted aggressively for years, it can be longer. The length depends on how much stress and adaptation you've accumulated. And this is why copying someone else's timeline rarely works. Your body responds to your history, not someone else's results. Once maintenance is established and the body calms down, fat loss often restarts with less effort than before. Hunger is lower. Energy is higher. Training feels better. And the scale starts moving again without extreme restriction. This is the part people don't believe until they experience it. They think, eating more will slow me down. But in many cases, eating more unlocks progress. Now let's talk about another factor that keeps the scale stuck: constant cardio. Cardio is not bad, but excessive cardio combined with low calories increases stress. It raises cortisol. It interferes with recovery. And it teaches the body to conserve energy. This is why people who do endless cardio often plateau hard. Strength training, on the other hand, sends a different signal. It tells the body to preserve muscle. It supports metabolism. It improves insulin sensitivity. It helps fat loss indirectly. If the scale won't move and all you do is cardio, that's another thing that needs fixing. But again, the first fix is not adding something new. It's stabilizing what you already have. Let me repeat the core message clearly. When the scale won't move, the solution is rarely do more. It's usually do smarter. And smarter starts with restoring balance. Now we're getting close to the most important part, so pay attention. Here is the mistake that traps people for years. They confuse fat loss with suffering. They believe if it doesn't hurt, it's not working. They believe if they're not hungry, they're doing it wrong. They believe rest equals laziness. That mindset keeps people stuck. Because fat loss is not about punishment. It's about cooperation. And the body only cooperates when it feels safe. This brings us to the most important part of the video. This is what I asked you to wait for. If the scale won't move, the first thing you must fix is not food quantity. It's the signal you're sending to your body. Right now, your body might be hearing danger, stress, shortage, survival. And in survival mode, fat loss is not a priority. So the fix is to send a different message. Enough food to recover. Enough protein to protect muscle. Enough sleep to lower stress. Enough patience to let adaptation reverse. Once that happens, fat loss becomes possible again. Not because you tried harder, but because you stopped fighting biology. This is why people who take smart breaks often come back leaner than people who never stop dieting. And this is why the scale finally moves when the right thing is fixed first. If this video helped you understand why the scale has been stuck, like the video so more people can see it. Subscribe if you want weight loss guidance that actually works in the real world, not just on paper. And comment below, how long has the scale been stuck for you?